Hello friends, how do you do? It's Monday. It's a very exciting Monday. Last time we had the pleasure of each other's company, I made this. It is a little percussive rig made out of tin cans. Today I'm going to be trying to work with wood blocks. I've done a little bit of research to see how other people did it, and people have used a couple of different methods. We're going to try those today, and hopefully we'll have cool results. Come along, friends. It'll be a journey. It'll be an exciting journey. So I saw people make these a couple of different ways. The first one I watched was just from a single piece of wood, and the gentleman had a router bit, and he went in and routered just a gap out of the wood. He said his router didn't go deep enough, so he went in with a Forstner to get it even deeper. So I'm going to forego the router bit and just begin with a Forstner and try my best to gauge out a large piece of this. So let's see how that works. This thing right here was a fence I made with 2 screws, 2 washers, and a piece of wood. And I haven't used it that much, but today it's going to be our buddy. This will be able to go quite deep. Alright team, let's make it happen. Well, this is what happened. It was to be expected. A hollowed out piece of wood. That sounds pretty neat, doesn't it? I'm going to get a shorter piece, and I'm going to do the same thing, and let's see the differences in how it sounds. That was quick. Well, these things will have to be mounted and shock absorbed. So I'm guessing if I made one in the middle, it would sound somewhere in the middle. Okay, later on in this project I'm going to take on all this nasty stuff, but right now I'm just very excited to see the kind of sounds we can make. Had a piece of this 1x3 that matched up pretty well with these guys here. Let's see how they sound. That is pretty cool, man. Well, I found this piece of wood here. I don't know what it was from, but maybe it has some kind of sentimental value. I don't know. I'm an old softy. I'm going to cut this into pieces and then assemble them. I'm going to do it a different way. Instead of drilling down, I'm just going to put together a box. Let's see what we can do with this. Alright, I'm going to use this as a stop block. Hopefully that'll make both of my pieces equal. That's all. Now I'm going to cut a few thin strips to put on the sides here. So on the tutorials on YouTube, people tend to take great pride in their work, and of course they glue these up. They treat them like pieces of art. Right now I'm just learning, and I can't afford the time to make these all beautiful. I'm not trying to sell them or anything. So first I'm going to see how it sounds without the back part on. And that'll affect the sound somehow. When you hit the wood, what's making the sound is the hollow bit on the inside. Let's give this a little knock-knock, see how it sounds. Now I know the thickness of that wood is definitely playing a part of this. I have some thinner pine. We're going to move on to the third way of trying things. Well, it's something. Don't like it as much as these, but I think we're going to have a lot of luck in the next method we use. Here we have 2 pieces of pine cut to the same size. One of the videos I saw had a gentleman, he used a router and he went in and he routed out all the stuff in there and then plopped this back on there. So that's what we're going to try now. My buddy in the video, he made a template to make his life a little bit easier. I think he mentioned he was mass producing them for a local festival or something like that for kids. So he needed to make a bunch. But right now I'm just making one. So we're going to route by hand. This is going to get messy. So let's see what we can do here. So far, so good. Let's see how that sounds. I think I'm gonna go a little bit deeper. You can see why people are so enamored by their CNC machines. Let's see how it sounds. There's a much easier way to achieve this. Separate pieces of wood, but I guess that doesn't look as pretty. I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to try to make a piece of wood that's tapered, like a cowbell. And we're going to see how that sounds. Before I do the cowbell-shaped one, I just had an idea. This is a piece of pallet wood, and this is a piece of brown hardboard. This is what I paint on. I'm curious to see what both of these together, what kind of sounds they'd make. Let's check that out. First, let's try it without the back part. Oh! I think we're onto something. I have a ton of these scraps. Now, what kind of sounds do you think we could get if we just used 2 pieces of brown hardboard and then spacers, making them bigger and smaller? These are parts from old picture frames that I screwed up. Little did I know I was holding on to them until today. I'm just going to do it by hand. I've marked out even parts there, and as long as I'll just wedge the end into there, and hopefully we will have a good outcome. I'm excited to see how this will turn out. Alright, I know we're missing parts here. I've been having memory card problems today. My camera's just been shutting off on its own. It's quite sad. But let's see how this sounds. This thing just sucks. We tried. This thing sucks pretty bad too. It's way too thick. But look what we got here. We got 6 pieces. There are a few things that have given me really gnarly injuries in the past. One of them was these chisels when we first brought them home. They're pretty sharp. Using them the incorrect way. Just thrashed my fingers. Oh, see? Right there. I don't know what I'm doing. I think this will work good enough for the purposes I'd like it to work with. Let's get these things mounted. So this is the progression of the tones they make from high to low. I gotta find a way to mount them. I could use this piece of wood. Mount these guys to the bottom and these guys to the top. Everything would be relatively easy to get in contact with. Paul Jackman works with these things all the time. I know he has a tool that can go in there and detect metal so he doesn't fuck up all of his shit. But the only tool I have is my eyes. That makes pallet wood very scary for me to work with sometimes. You know, some of these things have crossed the world many, many times over, and they're just full of nails. You want to get your money's worth out of these things. I'm going to try something. I'm going to cut a piece of this yoga mat, and then I'm going to use that as a buffer in between the wood. And see if that affects the sound at all. Ah, now we've come to a problem. Our nails are not long enough. What are we going to do here, friends? If only there was some way to access the knowledge of the world in one easy step. Wood percussion mounting. All right. It appears that anything that lets it be more independent. These need to vibrate on their own. They can't be directly attached to something. They need to hang over. I have a solution. So what I've gone and done here is I've created a buffer zone for each of the pieces. In between each of those pieces, I will be using a piece of foam as well as staples to attach everything together. Okay, let's see how this works. Okay, here's our first sound. Pretty. Okay, let's check the sound again. I think we're on to something, friends. Now, if I was to do the same thing with a piece of foam, damping. Let's see how that treats us. You know, friends, I think we're in business. I think we figured it out. I couldn't have done it without you. Now I'm going to go put everything on here. All right, we've gotten this far. Everything's mounted. The sound is pretty cool. Now I'd love to be able to attach these two things so they're all accessible. I don't know if that's the right move at the moment, but I'm thinking maybe I can just create a riser so I can put this behind it and everything will be accessible. Is that the right thing to do, though? Is it cooler to have it like this? See, I can stand in the middle. Maybe that's what I want to do. So I just need to rise this above pretty much the same size so I can have an ensemble. I think I'll do that with a few pieces of pallet wood. I don't want to waste a big huge piece of this because this is really good for other things. All right, friends. Well, this is what all of our hard work netted us today. And then we go over here, and that's all our hard work from a couple of days ago. Let's see what we can do with it. Now, this video had a ton of problems with memory card issues, so I'm sorry for any gaps, but I tried my best. Let's see how these things sound. Huh. There's going to be a third and final installment to this Let's Make Some Noise series. One of my Patreon people mentioned that they saw a street musician who used wrenches, a wrench xylophone. And I'm going to do my darndest to try to create one of those next, which will make a trifecta of fun noises. I could probably work on some mallets as well. These are bolts tied to straws. Thank you, all my Patreon patrons. Okay, well, that's it for today. My microphone is so good, it picks up my stomach noises, which I'm sorry is pretty gross. Also, my whistly breathing. I'll figure out something. I'll try to edit out as much of that as I can. Bye!